Welcome to Her Fantasy Football. You can hear us on Blog Talk Radio /Her Fantasy Football and on iTunes. Make sure to subscribe to us on herfantasyfootball.com so you can get our newsletter, and make sure to print off our cheat sheet that is amazing at herfantasyfootball.com/cheat sheet. That easy. Go to that site and you can print it off from there. And a friendly reminder, make sure to tune to our radio show on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Network from 9 to 11 Eastern on Saturday night. Also, you can chat with us on Twitter, as always, at HerFantasyFB and on Facebook /HerFantasyFootball. I'm your host, Courtney Kirby.
And I'm Ashley Williams.
And I'm Brandon Marianne Lee.
And it's the dress rehearsal week.
Woohoo!
The only preseason game that really counts. And it barely counts,
really
but it counts the most by far than any of the others.
It's still a half point.
I'm
still a half
so
point,
happy,
yeah.
though, that the Olympics is done with, so I can focus on preseason 3 games. So got a little dicey.
There you go, Brant.
I love how into the Olympics you are. It's really
so
fun.
into the Olympics. I am beyond into the Olympics.
Me too. I am too. Love the Olympics. I lose concentration once it gets to track, but I watch some tracks, some of the track stuff, but not all of it.
There were multiple nights I slept on the couch by choice instead of up with my husband because he was tired and I wanted to continue watching the Olympics.
Ping pong is amazing. So anybody who wants to tell me different,
legit.
you're out of control. Those guys are crazy sauce. Like, you could lose an eye.
If you could be
That
one
sucks.
type of that gave that away.
Olympian?
If you could be one type of Olympian, who would it be?
A person or a sport?
What type
Like
of
a sport?
type of sport would you play? Yeah, and be able to medal in.
That's a really good question.
That's a really good question.
I'm assuming we're talking only Summer Olympics at this point because otherwise
Only
it's far
summer.
too vast of a question.
Right. Figure skating's a clear choice, but other than that.
yeah, dot.
Toe pick.
Do pick leotards on ice. Yes, please. I don't know. That's hard. I mean, definitely would not be diving. I can barely watch diving. I get so sick to my stomach that somebody's going to crack their head open. And some of those
those boards
dives
are
this
tough.
year were so embarrassing that I can't
With
even
the
watch
wind?
it.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't do it. Diving's the worst. I could never do diving. Same thing with gymnastics. You know, I don't have the stomach for gymnastics either. Like, I had to turn away while watching the gymnastics because I'm so afraid that they're gonna fall. And
The
so
beam
I
is the worst. The
beam
beam is
is
the toughest
the worst.
to watch. Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Mm-mm.
No, I can't. So that to me would be tough. I love swimming, but it'd be really cool to be like the fastest woman alive. Like, I hate running, so it's like very fantasy wise, but that would be really cool to be like the fastest woman alive.
What was yours,
What is it?
Brennan?
The 100 sprint?
Yep, 100.
I want to be the gun shooting woman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one.
I was always good at that in PE, which, by the way, we used to live in Nebraska, so we're the only place in the world that we would go to a gun range in PE.
That's right.
But yes, that was the only thing I was good at in PE was shooting guns and archery. So I think I'd stick with what I'm good at.
I actually
like
was going
that.
to say diving because I'd want it to be something that would it be
Mm.
an obvious one. I played volleyball. I did track. So I think I'd do diving. Platform, because platform is scary and crazy and you're like 3 stories high. I'd do that. But I always get nostalgic when I watch track, especially a 4x1 relay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, if we were doing the winter ones, you know which one I would actually want to do over ice skating? Is that, like, that shuffleboard
Biathlon.
thing?
Oh, no.
No. No, not the biathlon, but that's cool. The shooting guns and stuff. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's
On
where you
skis?
you skis and
Yeah.
shoot guns. That's what I would
No,
do.
the
Yeah,
one where you're like
that's
on
terrifying.
ice and there's like the big puck and you have like the thing, you go back and forth and then you hit it.
Oh, yeah.
And you need to get it in this circle.
Yeah.
And then they brush in front of it with the broom and stuff. Do you know what I'm talking about, Ashley?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
Oh
trying
my gosh.
I
So
am
good.
blanking on the name, and it's such a oh my gosh, it's gonna drive me crazy. I'm gonna look it up
So good.
while Brandon says.
Yeah, man.
Anyways, we need to get back into football, but the
Yeah, it's
Olympics
football
was a good time. Go
It's fun.
USA. Very exciting. Awesome. Let's get into the first game, Atlanta Falcons at the Miami Dolphins.
Hold on, it's curling.
Curling.
It's curling.
Yes.
Yes, curling.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
How did I not know that? I live in
I know.
the
It was always
Central
my- I
Central
can't-
America.
Tip of my
And they
tongue.
wear like the old school polo shirts, so like looks like you'd
Yeah.
be a server at any restaurant, any quick service restaurant. Yeah, it's like my favorite.
Yeah, no, it's very good. Okay, so I'm going to start with the Atlanta Falcons. It's very clear, again, Kyle Shanahan's offense. Julio Jones, yeah. He was tied with Antonio Brown for the most receptions last year, but he actually had the most targets, if you can believe that. So, OBJ was 8th in receptions, but he gets a lot of touchdowns. So, again, these are the top 3. You feel fine about it. Devontae Freeman, clearly the number 1 running back in Atlanta. I cannot believe that Tevin Coleman stress that was a month ago. If you happen to watch the actual games, it is so clear that he's the number 1 running back on this team. It hurts. You're welcome. We told you a month ago. I'm over it.
I'm confused why that was ever even a thing. Like, why was that a thing?
Because one running backs coach said they want to keep him fresh and use more Devontae Coleman, so everyone said he's going to get less touches, freak out. Stop freaking out. He's a talented running back. Sleepers, surprise, surprise, none of the wide receivers have been all that great during preseason, other than Julio Jones, of course, which is his own thing, who doesn't have to do preseason. Except for Mohamed Sanu. He did get the most targets, 9, although he only caught 5 of those for 63 yards. But still, if you have anyone, that is what it is. And again, someone has to get the ball to Julio Jones and Devontae Freeman, and that guy is Matt Ryan. Again, I just think that he's someone that's undervalued. He did mirror work during the off season to perfect his footwork. I don't know if you know this. Again, we're all actual sisters, and I used to do a lot of mirror work in high school. It worked for me.
What?
Remember, I used to do like monologues and and stuff in the mirror. I'm into
you
it.
Break up with your boyfriend.
I used to break up with my boyfriend in the mirror. I had a lot of mirror work, and all I'm saying is, I'm a believer. And don't draft is pretty much everyone else. Again, Tevin Coleman's a handcuff. It is what it is. And Justin Hardy looked great in a T-shirt and shorts, per usual, but so far 3 catches off 4 targets for 26 yards.
Boom. The Miami Dolphins must drafts. I don't know. Listen, it's dicey in Miami. It's dicey.
Yeah.
My favorite is the coaches saying, it's the offense has had such a tough time this offseason trying to practice and get in their groove because our defense is so great, and their defense is awful. It totally implodes. Yeah. It's like, oh no, your offense is just that bad. It starts the line and it just trickles down from there. But Jarvis Landry, you're going to draft. This week is going to be a huge week for the running back situation. This is the moment we're going to find out, is it Arian Foster or is it Jay Ajayi? Something's got to happen. Last preseason game. It's just preseason week 2. It's the first preseason game Arian Foster's played in, I think, since like 2012. But he got -5 yards on 2 carries. So that's not awesome. No. And Jay Ajayi only has 25 yards in the last 2 preseason games. So that's not like amazing to write home about either. So this is going to be huge. It's going to be a big week. Arian Foster, you have to take early. So if you have a draft before this week comes up and you want him, well, you're going to have to pay for him. Not the case for Jay Ajayi. But keep an eye on that because, again, if your draft is after this and Jay Ajayi gets the job, his ADP will go up big time. So just keep an eye on these 2 running backs. This is the week. This is like the only team that preseason matters. But anyways, I'm putting Devontae Parker under the sleeper. He's finally back on the field. He had 2 receptions for 16 yards. Listen, he's a deep ball guy. When I think of that, every single time I think Kenny Stills. In my head, Kenny Stills. Which means boom or bust. And when you have a bad offensive line, not so great quarterback, with a new offensive coach who likes to make things difficult with play calling, this might not bode well for Devontae Parker, who's getting drafted higher than I would feel comfortable taking him without all of those. So all of those bad things. So he's not my favorite. I have him under sleepers, but really for the price, the value is not there. And don't draft everybody else. Dallas Cowboys at the Seattle Seahawks. Those Cowboys, Brandon. I'm kind of falling in love with them.
Yeah, Okay, well, again, Des Bryant is the man. I know that he's out right now due to concussion protocol, but don't worry, he'll be ready week 1. We don't need him in the dress rehearsal. We don't need him in the 4th preseason game for sure. Prior to last season, he had 1,200 yards or more and double-digit touchdowns in each of the 3 previous seasons. He was a 90 on Madden that just got released, and he was ticked off. And then they trolled him and said, well, it's actually because you can't kick. They showed him as a kicker. Like, anyway.
Maybe he should have come up with a Madden video like Von Miller did.
Oh, yeah.
Justin Bieber.
My husband just bought the Madden video, so I'm sure he's at home right now playing it.
There's a lot happening, but it was
and he
hilarious.
might be pissed too.
He might.
He's a Des fan.
The only person to get a 99 score on the offense at all was Rob Gronkowski. So, listen, Des Bryant got 4 targets, 4 catches for 64 yards and 2 touchdowns in the preseason. You're fine. You saw what you needed to see. Sleepers, not a lot of Cole Beasley in the preseason, but Bryce Butler is out and about. He caught all 4 of his targets for 96 yards and a touchdown. Interesting late round guy. You don't need to, I'm telling you, again, your last pick that's not a kicker or a defense could be Bryce Butler. That's what I'm telling you. Not to take him as a guy, but as a guy. You'll feel fine. Alfred Morris, again, becoming the best handcuff in the league right now, behind a top-rated offensive line, 16 carries, 96 yards, and a touchdown on the ground, 2 catches for 27 yards as well.
He can catch.
Yeah, and I've been saying this forever.
Of course, they just never threw him the ball.
They never threw him the ball. Of course he couldn't catch. He can't catch the balls that aren't thrown his way.
Can't win the lottery if you don't play, Brennan.
That's right. Buy a lottery ticket. You're welcome. And the don't draft list. Don't laugh. I'm sort of serious. Is Jerry Jones crazy enough to start Dak Prescott over Tony Romo some point in the season?
I'm a little worried about it. And I love there was Jerry Jones came out and said that our search for a veteran quarterback is over. And I'm like, you think? Why would you look for anybody else with Dak Prescott right now? Crazy. I don't know. He's got a love affair with Romo though, but it's Jerry Jones, and I don't trust him. He's crazy. He can do anything.
I am really worried about him. I'm also worried because Ezekiel Elliott hasn't played at all this preseason, and he hasn't been in practice, and he's a rookie. And again, it's a great offensive line, but the people that got 1,000+ yards behind that offensive line were veterans. All of them. They all understood the NFL. They all understood how to run a route, which, by the way, he has to run short routes. My other concern is that they have a terrible defense that continues to get people that are suspended or hurt on that. I mean, defensive end. They might ask me to play defensive end at some point. They literally have no one. So my question is, how much running can they do? I think they're going to have to throw the ball more, especially if Tony Romo's there. And even with Dak Prescott, they're going to throw the ball. So I'm a little worried because, again, Ezekiel Elliott is not just a first-round pick, but he's an early first-round pick.
Yeah.
And here's my problem. I want you to raise your hand when you would rather have Ezekiel Elliott than any of the players that I'm going to name right now. Antonio Brown, Todd Gurley, Odell Beckham Jr., Julio Jones, David Johnson, Adrian Peterson, DeAndre Hopkins, A.J. Green, Lamar Miller.
I'd have
maybe Lamar Miller. Maybe
Lamar Miller for sure.
No way. No way. You think Ezekiel Elliott is going to end the season with more fantasy points than Lamar Miller if they both are healthy?
I don't know.
Yes, if they're both healthy, yes.
Lamar Miller is forever and will always be that question mark. And I do running back rankings, and I have a really high.
Dallas's defense was freaking awful when DeMarco Murray tore it up.
Here's what I'm nervous about.
I'm not that concerned about that because it's part of their offense, and they spread the ball, that they make their running successful as well as the line. They've got plenty of options. I think that, I'm not on the Miller train, but
what's tricky for me is the fact that he hasn't played yet. And if he's not ready by week 1, and Alfred Morris is rolling.
Well, he's back at practice. He's going to play in preseason 3. He's going to play in preseason 3. But my point is,
he's a rookie. He get hurt. He doesn't know his routes. He's completely unconditioned at this point.
And if he's even a little unhealthy, why not play Alfred Morris? We know he does well.
Yeah. I mean, totally. But
First
you're
round pick,
saying
though.
if he is healthy, then that I would say that's the cutoff point for me. But
But there
if
was
he's
still a lot
not
of
healthy,
people
yeah.
I'd take in front of Ezekiel Elliott.
Would you take Des Bryant above Ezekiel Elliott?
Yep.
Le'Veon Bell?
No.
3-game suspension. Allen Robinson?
Getting murkier.
No.
Getting murkier.
No.
here.
Rob
No.
Gronkowski?
No. Ezekiel Elliott goes before them.
See, and I can't do it. I don't think he's going to outscore any of those people.
I'm not aiming for him.
I'm not even sure he's going to outscore Mark Ingram.
I'm very hopeful that everybody takes him incredibly early, so I don't have to.
I'm not
think
going
about it.
for him. I mean, I have him in one dynasty. I have him in a dynasty league, but
Well, that makes sense.
yeah. But other than that, I don't have him. I'm not, interested in Ezekiel Elliott because again, yeah, you don't know that he's going to stay healthy, and it just didn't seem like a really healthy start going into his first NFL career. And the fact that they picked up Alfred Morris, who's like tearing it up, doesn't help his case either. So if he's hurt, they're not going to be rushed to put him back in. But if the man is healthy, and that's what you started off saying, is that he's healthy, then yeah, I think he could be totally successful. But it's not looking good that he's healthy, and that's why I'm staying away from him. So I get it.
I just think we're drafting him at his ceiling, and we don't know what his floor is.
I would agree with that.
I don't, but that's the thing though, is it's the Dallas line. It's the play calls. He's going to be successful.
I have to believe he's going to be on
regardless.
par with Todd Gurley, right? Who is on a worse team. I have to believe that. But at the same time, we've had so many rookies come out and not produce.
He's not Todd Gurley.
I think Todd Gurley's special.
I don't think he's David Johnson even, but I think that he is.
I don't think he's
the
Adrian
next.
Peterson.
No, but he's kind of there with AP in the injury. I mean, it's opposite. AP's really old, but
I put him in
this
the
guy's
Eddie
really
Lacy
young.
realm of things. That's where I would put Ezekiel Elliott. And I'd
I don't
probably
know.
still take my Butterball.
Well, the point is that all three of us are not on the Ezekiel Elliott train, regardless of where we would draft him. If he falls to me to the second round, I'm taking Ezekiel Elliott.
Good
But
luck.
he won't.
Right.
Yeah, but he won't.
We got a Twitter question. Someone being like, "Would it be crazy if I took Ezekiel Elliott as the 11th pick in the first round?" I was like, "Well, it would only be crazy if he fell to you. Sorry, you missed out." That was my response.
Well, it depends on who he's drafting with, but yeah, absolutely. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's out.
Yeah. Ashley, Seattle Seahawks.
So we've talked a lot about our must drafts, and so I'm not going to go over all of them, and I'll just kind of touch on a few people. But Russell Wilson, he's an obvious must draft. He's going in the third. But it has been told by Pete Carroll that Russell Wilson and the rest of the first team will take snaps at least one series into the third quarter. Thank you, Pete
Ooh.
Carroll. They should already be doing that, but glad to know you're going to put that out there. So that has been confirmed. Sorry, that was by actual Bevel, the offensive coordinator. So they will be playing into the third, which is good. We need to see that. Now, Thomas Rawls, he should be ready to play by week 1, but he probably will not play this week in the preseason, which I hate. I hate it. Carroll's been reinforcing that he looks really good in training camp. They're just being really precautious. I don't like it. I need to see him play. I need to see him play because Christian Michael just keeps bumping his way on up the ADP list, which maybe is a good thing. Right now, Rawls is holding pretty steady. He's at the beginning of the third. He's still at the beginning of the third. That's where he's going to go. I'm just really nervous not having seen him at all. Into my sleepers, and these guys really aren't sleepers. I mean, they are. But Jimmy Graham, he was given the day off of practice on Tuesday because he had practiced for 4 straight days of good work. Seriously? Seriously.
They're like, hey, you can just have the day off because we don't use our tight ends anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Thanks.
I'm like, so wait,
Way to go.
He's been off the whole preseason, but he put 4 good days in, so we're good.
Stop.
Good,
It's tough.
Jimmy.
It's tough.
What the? Anyway, so that's a thing apparently. Christian Michael, he rushed 55 yards on 10 carries in the game against the Vikings, so he's still looking good and making the whole Thomas Rawls situation more murky. CJ Prosise is expected to get some playing time in this game, so I'm excited to see what he's going to do. I'm excited to see him actually hit the field. They like what they've seen out of him, and they continue to progress, so that's always good. But we have another running back in the mix, guys, because why not? It's Seattle. And we don't know what we're doing with this team, right? So we've got Troy Maine Pope, who rushed 10 times for 86 yards and a touchdown last week. So, again, we have no clue what's going on with the running game in Seattle. So, not my favorite situation. Again, I'm kind of avoiding all of them, mainly off one comment from Pete Carroll of he's excited for the 1-2 punch between Rawls and Christian Michael. And Christian Michael was touted by Russell Wilson that he's a changed player, that he's essentially the game is slowed down for him, meaning that he's able to process the plays a bit more, he's able to see the options, everything's kind of flushing out for him, which is good. We want that, but that's bad news for Rawls. So I'm not a fan of this situation at all right now in Seattle.
I am a fan of good Doug Baldwin, though.
I am a fan of Doug Baldwin. The good news is probably Rawls will come practice for 4 games and he won't have to play anymore, so that's good. That's what they do there.
Good job.
That's what they do there. New England Patriots at the Carolina Panthers. Brandon, the Patriots.
Actually, this is oddly easy. Gronk is back at practice. We didn't care anyway. Obviously, You're going to draft him. He's a stud. I actually don't care about veterans in the preseason at all.
No.
They were either good last year, and I believe they'll be good this year, or I don't care about them. And that's pretty consistent, regardless of whether they practice or not. You're going to hear that a lot tonight. Julian Edelman, I feel the same way about him. A lot of people don't agree with that. But to me, there's no one else behind him, really. I'm sorry. He is the number 1 wide receiver, and I don't know why that's controversial, but somehow it is. Sleepers, LeGarrette Blount is a sleeper because of the Dion Lewis injury.
So cheap.
I got him in a lot of leagues, but now he's probably going to go up in the drafts. Again, he is a flex play only. Flex play only. Do not draft him as your starting running back. I don't care if Dion Lewis isn't there. You are a ridiculous person. Stop yourself. If you can get him in the double-digit rounds, great. If you can't, move on with your life and feel fine about it. A lot of industry talk about Chris Hogan, but he's still only a 14th round pick, which is great. You normal average people are smart. But if you can get him in the 14th round, I'm okay with that. I actually think that he'll be fine, and you can definitely play him twice a year against the Bills because that is a Bill Belichick revenge. Mwah. So just take him for that in the 14th. You know what? You can take worse players in the 14th round, let's be honest. So I'm okay with it. Don't draft. Well, James White is going to shoot up the draft boards, and he should not be taken high. I'm sorry.
I thought he wasn't even going to make the team.
Exactly. All of a sudden went from not making the team to I had friends in the industry say, oh no, now he's a must start in PPR leagues. Are you out of your mind?
There is no must start. Let me be very clear. There is no must start of any New England running back at any point in time ever.
I said, I'm sorry. You think he's the next Dion Lewis, who, by the way, only played in 7 games. But I think he's the next Shane Vereen, who was the most frustrating running back to own of all time.
Right.
Don't start me on Stephen Ridley. I can't do it tonight.
I could understand a DFS play with him.
Sure. Yes, of course. GPP, best ball, DFS play, yes. Your regular league, redraft league, he is going to be one of the hardest people to pin down as to when you should start or not start. And I feel the same way. Again, I've said it over and over again, Tom Brady, 4-game suspension, and then the toughest schedule for any quarterback in the National Football League, literally ranked number 32. And then, you know what, I'm just going to give Ashley the floor on her genius Dion Lewis call, which, by the way, I said to some friends, you know, when everyone was like, well, no one could have predicted this. A lot of my friends in the industry. I was like, well, actually, my sister Ashley did, and I questioned her. I called and I said, did you really mean to rank Dion Lewis number 44? And I try to just say, oh, those are your rankings. This is cool. But I was like, maybe that's a typo. Maybe she meant 24. And Ashley was like, no, I have opinions. She was right, and I just want to say, well,
I didn't actually saying no, I have opinions because I used curse words instead at 8 in the morning.
She did.
He texted me about Dion Lewis. I was like, A, why are you waking me up about Dion Lewis? And B, yes, I beep, 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 put him there for a reason.
She did. I said, okay, just checking, because that's literally 20 marks off of everybody else. But sure, she was right.
Yeah.
Hands down.
It wasn't
Hallelujah.
It wasn't hostility of Brandon. It was for the fact that I have never understood this Dion Lewis hype and obsession. He was injured from the get-go. From the get-go, he was injured and being ranked in like the top 20, which he has no business falling into the top 20. And he's a New England back, already hurt, and he's out 8 to 10 weeks. So all these people are now freaking out because they drafted Dion Lewis, which they shouldn't have done in the first place because they had no business drafting him, especially in the top 20. So I had him ranked 44. I dropped him down in the 50s this week. I was tempted to drop him down to the 60s. I may get spiteful and put him in the 80s next week. We'll see. But I will say,
take him off your rankings.
Take
him off your rankings.
Maybe I'll put him 99 just so everyone can see my point, like my very last running back that I have. My hate is not unfounded. And I was right.
That's what I said. I said to these, because these guys were like, no way. Prior to this news, he was definitely a top 24 pick. And I said, well, actually, and I listed all the reasons you said. And then it was like I lost friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, other people were like, oh, fine.
Yeah.
I was like, well, it was pretty clear because, I mean, whenever that lone beat writer came out and was like, yeah, I think he's going to start on the PUP list, and then there were 4 beat writers that jumped on him and was like, no, he's not. No, he's not. I was like, oh, Bill Belichick sent these people out.
I do. I can understand with the fact that Belichick lists injuries for every player all the time, all season long, so it's hard to know what's real. But this was a real injury. This wasn't he's in a game and Belichick's trying to throw off a coach. There's no reason to do that in the preseason. This was a legitimate injury and far too much hype for this player, let alone the fact that he is a New England running back. Period.
And let's take 1 second to say the NFL changed their rulings on the injuries. So there is no longer a probable injury status. There is only questionable and doubtful, which means that all the people that were probable are now questionable as well. So we're going to have a very difficult time as fantasy analysts telling you who's going to play and not play. And Dion Lewis is any indication.
On the Patriots.
Yeah, it's going to be horrible for the Patriots. So just FYI, tough stuff.
Bummer. And guys that are like constantly questionable, like the John Browns of the world and the Steve Smiths. That's going to be
Tom Brady.
Edelman.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to list off all of the must drafts. It's easy. I'm not going to convince you. If you need convincing, overlook them and let them come to me. Thank you. Other than Cam Newton. But Cam Newton is a must start if you want him. People are diehard Cam Newton fans, so you have to get him in the second round, third round. Calvin Benjamin, Greg Olsen, Jonathan Stewart, Carolina's defense, and Graham Gano, the kicker. Those are all of your must starts. Or must drafts, excuse me, and I think they're all there. The only sleepers I have is Devin Funchess and Ted Ginn Jr. simply because of where they're placing in their ADP. I just think. Well, go ahead.
I have a funny story about Ted Ginn Jr. when you're done.
No, go ahead.
So one of those solicitors comes to my door. Actually, he didn't even ring my doorbell. First of all, I was homesick from work. I was in a nightgown, and I threw sweatpants under my nightgown, and then I was cold, so I put a T-shirt over it. But you can clearly see I'm in 3 layers like a bag lady. And I walk outside to water my plants. It no brush teeth, glasses, smeared makeup, cracked out hair from sleeping, and there's a guy just standing on my doorstep. And I'm like, what the? And he's like, oh, hey, I'm a financial planner, and yada, yada, asked me all these weird questions, and then he's like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, yada, yada, and I'm a fantasy football analyst. He's like, really? Cool. And then as he's leaving, as I'm giving him to go, he turns around and he goes, 1 sleeper. Just give me 1 sleeper. I'm like, Ted Ginn Jr. And he's like, oh, I forgot about that guy. I'm like, yeah. It's going in the 17th to 18th round. He's a steal. He's like, good one. He's a good one. Yeah, I forgot about that guy.
He is a steal. Who has the longest receiving touchdown this preseason? Higgins Jr., you guys. Come on. We cannot forget about this man. He's alive. I know. Kelvin Benjamin's back. It's very exciting. It's very, very exciting. But Ted Ginn Jr. had a ridiculous amount of touchdowns last season. He's going to get yards and touchdowns this season, even with Mr. Devin Funchess coming in and being the best thing to hit Carolina. I don't care. Ted Ginn Jr. is going to make a lot of fantasy owners very happy this season. So,
Boom or
and you have
bust.
to pay for him. Boom or bust. Boom or bust. And he's more boom than bust. He's not as Kenny Stills, where it's like literally out of nowhere. The Buffalo Bills, the Washington Redskins, the Bills. Okay, so Sammy Watkins. We're moving on. LaShawn McCoy.
Love. We're moving on because we love.
Because we love him.
Clear.
It's easy. You want him. It's not. To me, he's one of those guys that I really want in that area of group of men. That's definitely Sammy Watkins is one of those. And we'll talk about him, sure. Listen, in my don't draft, it's Buffalo's defense, right? They're completely getting destroyed here this offseason. It's crazy with suspensions and injuries. And when you have a bad defense, that actually makes me more excited about the offense because they're going to have to freaking throw that ball. And who's going to go to? It's going to go to Sammy Watkins. And he's only getting better, and he's more diverse of a receiver this year, and it's going to be glorious. LaShawn McCoy, he got an early Christmas present. Carlos Williams was cut from the team.
So crazy.
The vulture is dead, is what I have to say. Bye. The guy who took all of his touchdowns last year is gone. So if I was LaShawn McCoy, I'd be sleeping a lot better at night now. And as an owner, I'm sleeping a lot better at night. Williams scored 6 touchdowns last year in games that McCoy was in that McCoy could have scored the touchdown. So listen, I'll give McCoy 3 of those. Okay, so even that, 3 more touchdowns just because is fantastic. I'm going to give the other 3 touchdowns to my man Tyrod Taylor, who I am saying is a must draft. He's going in the 12th, 13th round. We have him ranked 9th, Brandon Marianne Lee.
I made a statement. Do you like it?
I like that statement, yes, and I'm going
Solid.
with it. I checked the rankings. Brandon does the quarterback rankings. I checked the rankings after I had done the write-up because I tend to just fill in with the rankings, and I was like, holy shnikes, she has him at 9th.
I think he's a top 10 guy.
We're all smoking the same stuff. He is. I think so too. Listen, he's gonna be running a lot more because of the backup situation to McCoy not being as strong as it was. So that is only gonna help. So I'm all in with the Tyrod Taylor. He's got his Sammy Watkins back healthy. And Robert Woods, I think, is a legit wide receiver too. So I think it's a great setup we got there. And I'm gonna put Charles Clay in my sleepers. They say they want to use their tight ends more this season, and it looks like that to me. He had a 59-yard pass or catch last preseason game. That's huge for a tight end of any sorts, even the Gronk kind. So I'm into it. I love it. I love it. We have him ranked 18th, which means he's the backup tight end for you. And I think that's a much better option than guys that we have ranked similar there, Martellus Bennett, Vance McDonald. I would go the Charles Clay route. And the Redskins,
I love me some
Brandon,
Vance McDonald, though.
I would prefer Charles Clay. That's all I'm saying. I'm not ripping on Vance.
Right.
I'm just saying I would prefer Charles Clay.
I think I have Charles Clay ranked above Vance McDonald, though, don't I?
Yeah, right, yeah, right in front of him, yeah.
Just
It's
right above.
Martellus Bennett, then it's Charles Clay, and then it's somebody else, and then it's Vance McDonald.
I'm low on Martellus Bennett. Some people have him as like almost a top 10 guy, and I'm like,
Yeah,
what
that's
the
crazy.
What?
No, it's not.
Stop yourself. I haven't even talked about Martellus Bennett in all of my Patriots stuff, and I did it on purpose.
Statement.
Good for you. Statement. We'll talk about the Washington Redskins now, Brandon.
Kirk Cousins and Tyrod Taylor, in my opinion, are the 2 guys that you want. I love them for late-round quarterback picks. I think that I've ranked them higher than other people on purpose because I believe they are better than other people. That's how rankings work.
Yeah.
So
we want to bring it to your attention.
yeah, I just think it's important. I mean, I just don't understand. Jordan Reed looked good in camp, but he's bubble wrapped due to his injury history, and I like that. Again, I don't want these veterans to play who could possibly get hurt. I have no problem not seeing him. Make no mistake, they're holding out Deshaun Jackson for the same reason. He looks great in camp. He says he's motivated based off of his injuries last season. Right now, he's going in the 8th round. And yes, last season was a disappointment, but again, he was hurt, so go for it. Sleepers, Jamison Crowder was doing really well until he got hurt. Now you can get him basically for free. Josh Doxson you can get for free, although personally, I'm not drafting him, but he's someone I'm looking for on waivers week 4. I think he's going to ease into it. He may play the last preseason game, but who cares? Who plays the last preseason game? Yeah. Bubble players, people that may or may not make the roster. I don't like that. He says he's definitely going to be back week 1. Well, we'll see. Again, a rookie. I like his skill set. I don't love him in a redraft league. Don't draft. Matt Jones is in a disaster zone right now. He sprained his AC joint in his shoulder. He is not going to play the rest of the preseason game. Hopefully he'll start in week 1. It was going to be Keith Marshall, supposedly. He was a 7th round pick this year in the draft, but he's just blown it. He's only a 7th rounder, so they're not invested. Instead, it's probably going to be Rob Kelly who's going to get the start this week. So check him out. And again, Mac Brown isn't sucking either. He had 9 carries for 35 yards, caught all 5 of his targets for 19 yards. Keep your eye on this situation. But again, we have Matt Jones pretty much ranked as the last starting running back, and there's a reason for that. So watch the situation for sure.
It may or may not be because I do the running back rankings and I hate him.
But I think everyone does, right? Yeah. I mean, how do you love? I mean, especially after this injury.
I hated him last year when everybody loved him, and I'm glad that it's carrying over. I mean, I'm not glad he's hurt. I'm not glad he's hurt.
You're an influencer, Ashley. You're an influencer.
You know what, Ashley? It's because of you. You bump them down in rankings and they get injured.
Maybe.
Way to go, Ash.
Maybe I should bump Mac the Knife Brown up and see how they do.
Yeah, there you
go. There you go.
Mac Brown, that's a great name.
Pittsburgh Steelers at the New Orleans Saints.
You know, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a toughie because Antonio Brown is ranked as the number 1 guy. I don't want to debate that, but at the same time, I'm not quite sure I'm as high on the offense as everyone else is. I'm going to remind you today, though, that the wide receiver 2 is actually Marcus Wheaton. I don't know if you've heard of the guy because no one's mentioned him, but he is officially listed as a wide receiver 2. And now everyone's all high and mighty on Eli Rogers, who is now listed as the wide receiver 3 instead of Sammy Coates. Well, Sammy Coates has literally fumbled or bobbled job away. It's sad, actually.
But what does Wheaton need to do to get respect here?
I don't know.
He was the wide receiver 2 last year, essentially. He's the wide receiver 2 this year. It was the same with like Martavis Bryant last year. All of a sudden, Wheaton was still the starting wide receiver 2, and Bryant got the attention. Sammy Coates got the attention. Now Eli Rogers gets the attention. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, and you know what? Eli Rogers is going to be fine as like a fun late round pick if you go that deep. But Marcus Wheaton is the guy. I just want to make sure we all know that. I think sometimes we keep forgetting that. Again, I interviewed Marcus Wheaton on my Bleacher Report show that I have from 11 to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on SiriusXM. And it was awesome because he said that he got a locker right next to Ben Roethlisberger. And he's been doing the whole following him around like a puppy, making sure that he can figure everything out, learning as much as possible. But he's kind of an understated guy. I can tell why, actually. He's just like a really nice guy when you talk to him. He's not really intense, So I think he's just not getting the press, and I'm cool with that. You should be too. Take him late, feel good about it. Again, I guess I feel like Le'Veon Bell and D'Angelo Williams, we've harped on that enough. It's tough to draft both of them in the top 6 rounds. It's only 1 slot, not even 1 position on your team. It's hard for me to advocate for that. And Ben Roethlisberger has the lowest floor in the league. And Ladarius Green may or may not be getting headaches, but he definitely isn't on the field. So I can't draft him. But Jesse James is the backup tight end. If you are, I wouldn't draft him. But he is a waiver wire guy to keep your eye on. definitely Jesse James. As far as the New Orleans Saints are concerned, Michael Thomas is a rookie, but he is ballin'. Hello, Michael Thomas. Welcome to the league. Basically, this whole offseason has just been kind of the Michael Thomas show. Willie Snead has been really good in practice, but he's only had one target that he caught for 22 yards. But hey, if he's going to average 22 yards per catch, why not? I think that the New Orleans Saints are pretty cut and dried. I mean, I don't want to I don't want to belittle any of you, but, you're going to draft Drew Brees. You're going to draft Mark Ingram. You're going to draft Brandon Cooks. You're going to draft Willie Snead. You're probably going to draft Michael Thomas because he's still a deal as a rookie. And then you're going to draft Coby Fleener, although I'm going to tell you right now, there are rumors that it's taken Coby Fleener a little bit of time to get the offense.
Well, I'm not surprised.
So I have zero Coby Fleener in my life right now. I'm not upset about it. I had a hard time ranking him this week because the potential is so high, but the failure could be. I don't even think the failure could be that low because even when he made memes, he was still like a top 15 tight end. He's never been outside of the top 15 in his entire career.
Yeah, but he's been in the same system. He's in a new system now.
Yeah, but there's no one else.
You know what? To me, tight ends don't have to be that smart. As long as if they need him to block, they can do that so that they can keep their role as a catching tight end as well. I always remember Julius Thomas. I mean, Peyton Manning would yell at him every time. Every play, he'd be like, Julius,
Yeah.
effing Julius is what I remember him saying. But he still was amazing that year. He still got the targets, and they used the tight end, so it doesn't matter. It does matter, but it doesn't.
And it's still the funniest story in the whole offseason when the intern listed him as the number 4 tight end, and everyone in fantasy freaked out. And then the intern corrected. It was like, oh, sorry, he's number 1 guy.
Sorry.
Classic
I want an
intern
like that. I want that. I want that in my life. Oh, that's so good. All right, the Green Bay Packers, the San Francisco 49ers, must drafts. Listen, I think Aaron Rodgers is the number 1 quarterback to draft. We have Cam Newton 1, Aaron Rodgers 2nd. I know it's kind of going back and forth with a lot of people in the industry, but I have to say I think Rodgers is going to beat Cam Newton out this year. I just feel like everything's come together for the Green Bay Packers. The offensive line is healthy for the first time in a long time. Eddie Lacy looks a lot better. He's got his receiving core. He's got more tight ends that he knows what to do with in an offense that barely uses tight ends. I just think that this is like his year, and he's got like the 6th easiest schedule. So that helps the case out as well. And Cam, I just feel like the Denver Broncos gave out a blueprint of exactly how to beat Cam and the Carolina Panthers. Literally Denver's offense, I don't think they did anything the whole game. But they just knew exactly how to stop Cam. And I think people are going to catch on to that. Not only that, but Cam had like the easiest schedule last year, and he doesn't have the easiest schedule this year. So I'm going with Aaron Rodgers. If you want to draft a quarterback high, that's the one I would pick. I'm not taking any of them, but that's the one I would go with. Jordy Nelson, he is back to practice, looking good. I think I bumped him up in the rankings. I feel more confident about him. I think you should too. So I think that Jordy Nelson is good to go, which means Randall Cobb is good to go. So we're fine there as well. Eddie Lacy, this puts him in the middle of the 2nd round, being at the ADP 16. And I think it's going to be a steal for this guy. I really like him. I think that this lighter, more explosive Eddie Lacy is exactly what we need to see. The whole team's back. Again, healthy offensive line. That is so huge to a team like this. So I'm into it. There's really nobody I'm not drafting other than the wide receiver 3 debacle. Not staying away from that. And James Starks is going to be your backup, your handcuff for Eddie Lacy, and he's not the worst handcuff to have. So don't concern yourself with that. You can take him. San Francisco 49ers, Ash.
Well, there's really only one must draft on this team, and that's Carlos Hyde. So we'll make this quick and just talk a little bit about some sleepers here. Bruce Ellington, he had a hurt ankle. He returned to practice on Monday. He will be their slot receiver. We do have high hopes for him, especially because he's basically going undrafted. You give him the 20th round, so that's insane value for him. So I like him. Vance McDonald, which we talked about, again, he's again going undrafted, literally in the 29th round. It's crazy. But he's had a really good preseason. He's caught 5 passes for 92 yards over the past 2 games. That's decent. And who else are they going to throw to? You've got bad quarterbacks who need to dump the ball off. So really that's going to be your slot and your tight end. So I like Vance. I think Vance got a shot to have a decent year. Now, Chandron, he is, I want to reiterate you guys, the backup to Carlos Hyde. He was out due to a rib injury against a preseason game. So there's been talk of Juwan Harris and Mike Davis. They're competing for the number 3 spot, but Chandron is the number 2 guy. And if you draft Carlos Hyde, you better have an option because that guy is beyond injury prone. You better have an option. I'm not sure I love Chandron as an option. I think I'd rather just have a different straight-up running back, but you might want to consider yourself handcuffing, especially if you've got a league that has a lot of roster spots. I'd consider it if you've got Carlos Hyde. And then don't drafts are just, we got our classic quarterback situation of Blaine Gabbert and Colin Kaepernick. We're not going there. Now Colin Kaepernick is dealing with with arm fatigue. I love this, aka dead arm. And he has participated in some drills. He has not necessarily been a full participant, but he did not play against the Broncos, but he participated in a full warm-up, so that's something. And he is supposed to play this week. He is on track to play against the Packers, where he will get embarrassed by Aaron Rodgers. So I'm not sure this would be the game I would put him in, but you do you, Chip Kelly. You do you.
Yeah, that's right. Chippy.
Blaine Gabbert is still the starter, just FYI. You're going.
I will have to say, at least the 49ers have somebody to blame. Chip Kelly. They really could blame anybody, but at least they have their fall guy. And I like that. I can appreciate that.
It's actually they should blame whoever fired Harbaugh.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the players.
I'm guessing whoever fired Harbaugh is the same one who hired Chip Kelly. So I'm going with it's the same dude. So yeah, he's the guy. Cleveland Browns of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Let me make this quick and pithy. I am literally drafting all the Cleveland Browns, and I'm probably going to hate myself.
I'm so into them. Into them.
Actually, so we do our SiriusXM show, and one of our producers said that they put out a clip of us saying that the Cleveland Browns are a treasure trove of fantasy value, right? And then all of a sudden, everyone else on the network is going, "Oh yeah, the Cleveland Browns." We're like, "Yo, we were on this a month ago." I'm telling you, Terrell Pryor. I was a year early. I apologize again. But 2 catches for 170 yards and a touchdown. He is going in the 13th round. I think that he is legit. I think the connection is real. I think it's a real connection with RG3. Again, RG3 going in the 14th round, completed 10 of 15 attempts for 163 yards and 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's going to happen. That's fine.
I think they bonded over this, why does no one like me kind of vibe.
Terrell Pryor is a super hard worker.
Yeah, Terrell Pryor is no RG3.
No, yeah.
No, but I'm saying they've both been undervalued in the NFL. I think they're going to bond over that. And I love that he had quarterback experience to understand exactly what RG3 is going to be doing.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great connection for them.
I hope RG3 goes up in flames. I'm sorry. I can't get behind that. I will get behind everybody else in Cleveland. But if RG3 tore his ACL again, I would not be upset.
Wow.
I think he's going to do well this year.
I think he's going to be well for a 14th round pick.
Yeah. I just puked in my mouth.
Yeah.
I did rank Terrell Pryor, though, and I'm very excited about him.
Yes. I'm sorry, legit stuff. Legit things are happening. Yeah. He said he studied Julio Jones like crazy and was flattered, took a picture with him when they played against the Falcons last week. It's real deal. Duke Johnson was second to Amari Cooper among rookies last season for receptions, and he's going in the 7th round. And he has Hugh Jackson as the coordinator. Love it. Isaiah Crowell, 9th rounder. We've already told you numerous times to draft him. And don't even start me on Gary Barnidge and his amazingness. Don't even start me. I don't want to bore you.
The Cleveland Browns have no sleepers and no don't drafts.
That's
First
right.
time.
Well, I'm not touching
Respect
their
for
defense.
everything.
Yeah, but
Well, yeah. Tampa Bay, Ashley.
Mike Evans, you're drafting him. You know that. Doug Martin, you're also drafting him. He's going at the very end of the first/early second, depending on how large your draft is. Now, he did not play
No,
against
you
the
mean
Jacksonville
the end of the
Jaguars.
second, early third,
Sorry,
right?
end of the second, early third, correct.
Okay, yeah.
that's what
He didn't play against the Jags, but he is expected to play against the Browns. So we're going to see a little bit of action out of Doug Martin. I'm excited about that. Yeah, and then we've got some fun tight end drama. So Cameron Brate dropped a pass that led to an interception in the game against the Jags, and here's opened up the window for our boy Austin Seferian-Jenkins. He's been actually looking pretty decent in camp, and therefore head coach Dirk Cooter has said that he is nearly unstoppable and catch 7 to 7 passes, and that he has earned a right to share first-team reps with Brate, which just means it's a matter of time until Brate is booted to the second spot, and it will be Austin Seferian-Jenkins who will then be the starter and break your hearts all season, because that's what he does. That is what he does. Don't draft. You're not drafting Jameis Winston. I am not into it. He's really struggled against the Jags defense, and he's got a pretty hard schedule going this year. He's got to play the Cardinals, the Broncos, the Panthers, the Rams.
A lot of people are drafting Jameis Winston because of Mike Evans and Vincent. You know what?
I'm not into it.
I'm with you, Ashley. I'm not into it either. Screw that. Sorry.
I dropped him because who else does he have other than Mike Evans? That's my problem.
He only has Mike
Mike
Evans
last year. What did he have What did he do last year?
He was okay.
He was okay, but
He
was
okay.
But he wasn't a
People are
starting
taking him
quarterback.
as their first quarterback.
It's crazy. It's crazy because Mike
And
Evans
that's
is still going to
nuts. You
get
can't do
decent
that.
points.
Andy Dalton.
Yes, they're drafted. He has a higher ADP than Andy Dalton, and that
I know.
blows my mind.
That is insane.
People
That is
are
crazy,
crazy.
Tom.
They're crazy.
Speaking of
Sorry.
crazy, kicker Robert Aguero.
Oh God, the poor guy.
I feel so bad for him. He's a rookie. He basically never missed any kicks, and now he is completely imploding. And he has now reached out to both his kicking coach and a mental coach to help him with his kicking situation. So keep your eye on that. Keep your eye on that. I had drafted him thinking like, oh my gosh, second round pick is going to be fantastic. But now the pressure of the NFL is weighing down on him. You need to look elsewhere. Kicking is so mental. If you got to bring a mental coach in the preseason, even we got some problems. So nope.
Kansas City Chiefs at the Chicago Bears. Oh, those Chiefs.
Oh, the Chiefs.
They're the hotness.
They're the hotness. Hot.
They're an interesting team. So Charles returned to practice last week. He did not play in the preseason game, but he did participate in full 11-on-11 team drills. So I am excited for this. All good news. We're not worried about Jamal Charles. I love Jamal Charles. Everyone's a little scared of him, and we're okay with that. You don't need to be. Be okay with it. I'm all right with it. Jeremy Maclin, ejected from the game. I love that.
Me
I
too.
love him so much.
It's like, I wouldn't have done that in a regular season game. I'm like, you do
No.
you, vet. You get ejected in the preseason game, do it. But he's been a mentor, which is what I really like for some of the sleepers, and Albert Wilson and Chris Conley. And Conley had a good game. He had a team-leading 66 yards, and I believe an audible for 37 yards from Alex Smith. And he's doing really well. He's been under the wings of Jeremy Maclin, and they're all kind of learning from this vet. And I think they're actually going to have a much better receiving core this year. I think this might be the year that they finally gel and that Alex Smith can actually throw further than 35 yards.
Underrated offense.
It really is. I think they're going to do decent. I do. I'm excited for it. And
They just go up against tough defenses.
They do.
You know?
They do. But
they do.
Hey, they beat the Broncos one game last season. I was there for the game to watch it. I think they've got a decent offense. And again, Albert Wilson and Chris Conley are both they're not even ranked. They don't even have an ADP. These guys essentially don't exist in anybody's fantasy world. You don't need to draft them, but keep them in your mind and something that you want to look for on the waiver wire.
Yeah, absolutely. They might catch one of those 3 receiving touchdowns. That didn't go to a tight end. Chicago Bears, Jimmy Linkford. Ugh, he's in a walking boot, you guys, and has been since Saturday morning. He's out of practice. It's not good. It's not good, but he is going at a decent round still. So 5th round, I think I'm still taking him. Kadeem Carey and Jacquizz Rodgers and rookie Jordan Howard are going to be the guys behind him, and none of them are draft worthy. So to me, this is not a team that you're going to handcuff. Personally, I would go for a handcuff, somebody else's handcuff, then I would handcuff myself to the Chicago Bears backfield. But I am going to take Linkford. I have taken him, and I do enjoy him. Kevin White. Don't let the preseason performance discourage you, you guys. Alshon Jeffrey's going to be dead, and Kevin White's the only guy left. So that's it just is what it is. He just he's going to be good by himself, but he's going to be great when he's number 1 wide receiver for this team. So you can draft Kevin White. No sleepers. Alshon Jeffrey is in my don't draft list. Again, this is a thing like Ezekiel Elliott. I don't want him, so I'm saying don't draft him because that's my opinion. Still have him ranked at the appropriate place, although now I might go back and downgrade him since that's what you have to do to get somebody hurt around here at Her Fantasy Football. But I don't like him, so I'm saying don't draft him. So that's where I'm at. His injuries are crazy. The soft tissue stuff is for real, and the value is just not worth the risk for me. So that's all I have to say about that. Philadelphia Eagles, the Indianapolis Colts, those Eagles. Ryan Matthews. I still have him in my must draft. This team is just value, and I tell you this every week. It just is. If you want these guys, you can get them for a reasonable price. So, okay. I love Zach Ertz. I think that he's just going to be fantastic. I mentioned this last week that Coach Pedersen's from Kansas City where they have Kelsey. And I think that this is going to be perfect for Ertz, and he's going to fit into this offense fantastically, and just going to be beautiful, beautiful music. So I'm all about Ertz. Sleepers, I still have Darren Sproles, and guys, I'm a believer. I'm sorry, I just am. I just think they're going to use him like crazy this year, and I just think that it's totally perfect flex and PPR leagues. So, and that scenario only. Mind you, flex and PPRs. And my don't draft, I'm just really interested to see what any of these other wide receivers do other than Jordan Matthews. It's just a big assortment of, a lot going on. And I'm staying away from all of them because I just can't feel confident with any of them. And clearly their coaches can't either, so I'm holding off. Brandon, how about the Colts?
I believe in T.Y. Hilton. I feel fine about that. I believe in Dante Moncrief. I feel fine about that. Right now, Frank Gore is going in the 6th round, and he's the number 1 guy. Josh Ferguson has done himself 0 favors this preseason. 13 carries for 9 yards and a drop. Any of that sound good to you?
Sure doesn't.
Right now, it looks actually like Robert Turbin, if you can believe that, is going to be the handcuff. Sleepers is, I guess, Philip Dorsett, but that all depends on my do not draft list, which includes Andrew Luck. As of right now, not looking good. His preseason workouts have not been favorable. All of the signs are pointing to what? Now,
crazy, right?
I need to see him do something. If he can do something this week, I am very interested in this game. It is very important to me to see a change up in this offense. But right now, I am concerned, and for that reason, Dwayne Allen is kind of just a guy to me. A lot of people think he's going to be a breakout player. I'm going to wait till next week to give you good analysis on the Colts because right now, a lot of question marks.
Well, he might have to just dump off to him every single time when he gets razzled. So Dwayne Allen might be a breakout star just because he's literally the last result for Luck to before he pukes on himself because it's bad, I can see that, but I can also see it's just not good. Why would he throw to Dwayne Allen if he can The opportunities. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Detroit Lions at the Baltimore Ravens.
Detroit Lions, I'm staying away from a lot of the Lions. I don't like the running back situation. Amir Abdullah may be the guy, may not be the guy, struggling with injuries, struggling with life. I mean, I'm not quite sure what's going on with Amir Abdullah. Theo Riddick, I think, is the pass-catching back. You can feel good about him if you are in a PPR league. I will say that. I know I'm alone on that. That's fine. Golden Tate, in my opinion, is for sure the number one guy. Now, earlier in the season, he was going in the 4th round. Now he's going in the 5th, sometimes 6th round. That's fine for me. I actually think he's a quality pick where you can get him now. Before, maybe it was a stretch, but now I feel good. I mean,
Yeah.
I get it.
Six. Keep talking about Marvin Jones, people.
Keep talking about Marvin Jones. Again, they don't throw the ball down the field that much, so I don't understand this Marvin Jones hype. Marvin Jones is a talented football player. He's fine. I'm not reaching for him, though. The only thing that I have with Golden Tate is that Anquan Bolden's there, and Anquan Bolden's going to take some of those shorter range passes. Although, again, I think they're going to do majority short range passes. But I think Anquan Bolden's legit.
I think they're going to run a double slot.
I don't think, I think so too. And I don't think that he's the number one guy. I don't think anything like that. But you can get him so late, last pick of your draft, and I think that he will have a lot of decent games. And he's usually a good player in week 1. Insider info. Eric Ebron still needs to prove something to me. I'm not into him anymore. I keep dropping him down like 1 or 2 spots every week, and I think I might continue doing that. I need more.
More. The Baltimore Ravens, Kamar Aiken's value is just so crazy good. I have to say, like, it is nuts. Like, he's not, like, one of my favorite wide receivers or anything, but, like, for how low he's going for being the number one wide receiver, I think is just, like, awesome. So that's the guy I would put on my must-draft list. With all the other wide receivers, I'm not super impressed with, other than Mike Wallace maybe is that like last round guy you'd pick. Steve Smith is back, but he, it's very questionable. Perryman's, I mean, whatever.
Worth the wait.
Worth the wait. Yeah, don't tell fantasy owners that.
Yeah.
And I love Justin Forsett, you guys. Another guy that I think is totally underrated. I think is going to be fantastic. We'll have huge fantasy numbers by the end of the season. Yes, he might play 14 out of 16 games. Okay, well, I'll take it. It's an extra game than Le'Veon Bell's going to be taking in the first draft. I'm not comparing Forsett with Bell overall talent, but I'm just saying, come on, guys. Like, Forsett's the dude there. His coaches love him, and he's a good pick. So everybody else just don't draft. I'm really not impressed with Baltimore, to be honest. It's kind of my team. Flacco just really brings you down.
Is Flacco going to get healthy? I mean, that back surgery.
I don't know, but thank goodness you're not drafting Flacco anyway, so it's not like a big concern. You may draft Kamar Aiken, but the value there is just like, okay, if he doesn't work out, he doesn't work out,
right.
Because of his quarterback. It's not like a guy you're drafting in the 3rd, 4th round being like,
Agreed.
It's like drafting Michael Floyd and then Carson Palmer goes down and the team just completely implodes. That's not the case here. New York Giants, the New York Jets.
So we'll keep this one pithy because we know basically everything we need to know out of the Giants. Eli Manning, you're drafting him. He was a top 10 quarterback last year. Obviously, you're drafting Odell Beckham Jr. As long as you are 1 through 3 in the draft order in your draft. Rashad Jennings, again, he's got crazy value for where he's going. He is still a starting running back in this league. He is still the primary running back on this team. But I don't want you to forget about Shane Vereen. This guy...
Brandon wants to forget about Shane Vereen.
I'm blocking him out.
What's interesting is he wasn't second on the depth chart a few weeks ago, and he's moved his way up into the 2nd spot. And I do think they're going to use him as a pass catching back out of the backfield. So I would say, kind of like what Courtney said, PPR only, and a flex only, and you have to draft him super late in the draft. Don't take him for anything more than that. You'd be reaching. But he's interesting play for me because again, it's a completely different offense than they had last year. We don't really know. We can't base anything off what we saw last year. We can't base Shane Vereen off what we saw with the Patriots because it's the Patriots, it's Bill Belichick. So I'm intrigued to see how he will be utilized this year, and I need to see a little bit more of it in preseason before I can really give my full-on Shane Vereen opinion. And maybe I'm saying this because I drafted him in an auction league by mistake. Maybe I'm hoping, wishful thinking, that he's going to do well. But no, I really do think he's going to be interesting. Now, Victor Cruz, do a little bit update on him because he's really the only interesting update on this team at the moment. So he was a full participant in practice for the first time since August 8th, which is great. He caught three passes during team drill and a touchdown. He was looked at in the red zone, and he's on pace to play this game. I think we're actually going to see him play.
Ashley, you missed it, but you were cutting out, and it goes, he got. Like
It was the remix.
Was it really? The remix
Yeah,
of Victor
oh, yeah.
Cruz breakdown. He got.
I hope it actually comes off that way when I download this.
Oh, it will. It was good.
Victor Cruz.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I just went down.
Well, he's on pace to play, so we're finally gonna maybe get a little bit of a glimpse.
Finally, I'm really excited. I hope this is a good thing.
I hope it's.
I hope Sterling Shepard is somebody of our past.
Well, I think he's.
Well, he'll be the future, but you know what I'm saying. Like, I hope Victor Cruz comes in and just tears it up.
I think Sterling Shepard, he's listed right now as a wide receiver 2, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see if Victor Cruz does come out healthy and is playing well. What is that going to mean? Granted, Sterling Shepard's been playing well, so it's going to be a tough call. It is going to make the murky waters in the Giants organization.
You can only give the ball to so many people.
And then we
OBJ.
That's right. Dwayne Harris, wide receiver, he did exit the preseason game. He had x-rays that was negative. We haven't really had a full great update about him, but he's not really fantasy relevant for you. And then Randy Bullock did sign with the New York Giants since Josh Brown is suspended. So I'll be intrigued to see how that plays out, as well as the Giants are getting a lot of flack for taking a pretty weak and feeble stance on the domestic violence policies within the NFL. So
it was only 20 times.
Yeah.
I mean,
and he's a kicker, so clearly you can't replace him.
Yeah, I mean,
there's only like a million kickers trying to find a job right now.
Right.
It's fine.
No problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it was only 20 times before she actually divorced him.
So my husband, we had a draft that night. My husband drafted him. Did I tell you guys this?
No.
And I was like, to him, and he's like, what? And I was like, he just got suspended for beating his wife. And he starts laughing. He's like, a kicker, really? I was like, no, really?
Yeah. Yes, really.
Googled it. He's like, oh my gosh. And he dropped him. But I was like, yeah. He's like, man, he's like one of the most consistent kickers out there. I was like, well, he consistently beats his wife. So,
yeah. Consistently.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're going to use.
Yeah.
And stepson.
But I will never forget my husband's laughing. Oh, he's a kicker.
It's a kicker, Courtney.
I know. Kickers matter, you guys. This is why you need to check this stuff.
This is the worst example of kickers mattering ever.
Yeah, but it's true. It's true. Anyways, the Jets.
So Jets, again, Brandon Marshall, given. Eric Decker, given. Matt Forte, a given. And he is hopefully going to play this week as well. We haven't seen much out of him. Todd Bowles is very excited and hopeful that he's going to play, as am I. They increased his practice workload over the week, so it's looking like green light go. I'm very excited. I think Forte is going to be fantastic this year. Your sleepers, we've got the same ones in terms of Bilal Powell and Quincy I can never say his name. Inua. Damn it.
Remind me to look that up.
I can never say it. We talked about how much Fitzy loves him last week, but he did suffer a concussion during the first quarter of the preseason game. So keep your eye on that. He did not practice as of Wednesday, the 24th, so he clearly has got a concussion going on at the moment. So make sure that you keep an eye on that. Granted, he's going not drafted, but I do think he is, right now he's slotted as the wide receiver 3. So I do think he's actually going to get some love this season. Just keep your eye on him. Just keep your eye on that guy. Yeah, and then again, Carlos Williams visited the Jets. A deal, they wanted to reiterate, a deal is not imminent. He still has weight to lose. He's got a lot of stuff to do. But he visited the
I
Jets.
can't believe he didn't get picked up. The guy averaged 5.6 yards per carry last season.
It is a little crazy. I'm like,
scored a ton of touchdowns. I don't know what
Tons of
people are thinking.
touchdowns.
I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, I know that he like slipped in the offseason, but he's got a lot of talent.
He's got a lot of talent.
Suspended.
I'm holding on to him in some
for
leagues.
He is suspended 4 games. So I'm wondering if people are going to pick him up a little bit later. But it is shocking that he hasn't been picked up anywhere. I mean,
well, it might be bigger mental issues than we think.
Maybe. So
it must be, because there's no other reason.
Yeah.
And then we got the quarterback situation. Fitzy is still the guy. Bryce Petty is allegedly making a push to be the backup quarterback with Geno Smith. But as of this game, Geno Smith has been announced as number 2 in the quarterback rankings. Todd Bowles did say that Bryce Petty will get some playing time. And they're thinking about actually keeping 4 quarterbacks on the team between Ryan Fitzpatrick, Bryce Petty, Geno Smith, and Christian Hackenberg. So they're going to have 4 quarterbacks there.
Wow.
Okay.
Crazy.
That doesn't seem necessary.
Nope.
All right, Tennessee Titans and the Oakland Raiders.
Delaney Walker, he is a must and a tight end. DeMarco Murray, he has had 113 yards and a touchdown on 11 carries in the first 2 preseason games. He is looking fantastic. He looks so good, and I'm so excited. Now, what does this mean for Derrick Henry? This is what you're thinking, because Derrick Henry also looks fantastic. They have said that Murray is the starter, and he is. But they also made promises, I quote, promises that Henry will get playing time. So the question really becomes, what's that ratio split going to look like? How are they going to use Henry? I'll be intrigued to see if they kind of unfold a little bit of how they're going to do that in this 3rd preseason game. But Henry is supposed to get some love, and I think he's really good. So I think he is still worth a draft pick, even though DeMarco Murray looks great. Don't be completely scared off of Henry. Again, Henry's a flex player. He's not going to be a starting running back for you, but I think he is worthy of a roster spot for the flex.
Well, at least you have a sturdy handcuff, too.
Sturdy handcuff, and it could be valid still throughout the season. So why wouldn't you do it? If you're drafting Murray, you have to draft Henry, in my opinion. They are a 1-2. Wide receiver, Tahe Sharp.
Tajay.
I looked up Tahe.
Okay, whatever.
I don't know.
I think it's Tajay.
Tajay
Sharp.
Tajay.
We make everything French on her fantasy football, just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was better than Ryan.
It's probably
Mallet.
TJ, and you guys are all messing it up.
No, I think it is Tajay. Tajay? Like Taj Mahal, Tajay.
Anyway.
It's great.
Anyway.
It's great.
He's
looking
fantastic,
great.
and he's a sleeper.
He's looking
Go
great.
for
He's
it.
a sleeper. Justin Hunter is projected to not even make the team at this point. But I do actually think Justin Hunter has talent and potential. And if he does not make the team, I do think he will be picked up somewhere else, maybe somewhere like Philly where they could use a wide receiver. And I think he might actually be able to do well in a different offense. This has just been a team that's never been able to really get anything around wide receivers. They just can't seem to pull it together. And Hunter's been one of those really frustrating players that always that potential guy that looks really great and then does nothing. So there's a good chance he's not going to make the team, but I'll be intrigued to see where he does fall. Kendall Wright, he is doubtful to play this week because of his hamstring injury still, so that's a bit concerning. And then we've got Marcus Mariota, who is not a starting quarterback. I want to be very clear on this. There's a lot of Mariota love out there. He is not a starting fantasy quarterback, but I like him in 2 quarterback leagues. So grab him in that situation. I think he's got a good chance to be kind of on that bubble of the top 10, top 15.
Awesome. Brandon.
I'm kind of cooling down on the Oakland Raiders a little bit. Derek Carr came out and he definitely has decided to practice with the long ball. I think that's really great. So Amari Cooper is fine. He was struggling with a foot injury the majority of his rookie season is what we found out. And that's really why he slowed down the later half. I feel good about him. I feel good about Michael Crabtree. Again, no one respects him, so you can get him late. Yep, go for it. But I'm cooling down on Clive Walford. He had an ATV accident earlier this year. He hasn't really bounced back. He hasn't really gotten as involved as I was hoping he would based off of his numbers at the end of his rookie season last year. Now, he is a 3rd-round pick, so I don't think they're going to give up on him. This isn't a Carlos Williams situation where all of a sudden he'll be dropped. But I'm not as high as I used to be. And we have to just be honest. Again, no one's wrong, by the way, in fantasy. We all researched, we all did did our work, and then circumstances change, and we're just trying to get you to win. I'm not here to be right. I'm here to help you win. So that's how I feel about Clive Walford today. And then also to help you win, Latavius Murray is the starter. And I'm sorry if that upsets you, if you don't think he's a good football player. But much like Jeremy Langford, they're starting. So it is what it is. And I'm sorry if you don't want to draft him, but if he falls to you, you should feel fine about it. And frankly, DeAndre Washington has been hurt. He hasn't really won the job. And George Atkinson is kind of a baller right now. Right now, he is the #1 scoring fantasy running back in the preseason. Now, it's just the preseason, of course, but he's had 8 carries for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. He caught his 1 target for an additional 15 yards, but hey, not bad.
Yeah,
That's great.
I like it.
Good stuff. Los Angeles Rams against the Denver Broncos. Rams are always going to be easy. You can draft the defense, and you can draft Todd Gurley. And that is it.
Scene.
Thank you, and scene. Moving
Speaking of
on.
dress rehearsal.
The Denver Broncos.
Wow, you're really going to do that. Nice.
What? What do you mean?
You really just moved on. It's beautiful.
I did. I've totally moved on. We're over it. You're gone,
I
guys.
think Pharaoh Cooper is going to happen.
Pharaoh Cooper, it's possible, but you don't have to draft him. He's going low that he's just not draft worthy. You can keep an eye on him and see, especially with injuries, and when you draft Alshon Jeffrey and he dies, then
wow,
be like, who am I gonna pick up?
Then Cooper.
But you don't have to draft him initially, so don't worry about it. With the Denver Broncos, you do have to draft everybody initially. Sorry, it's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles. I believe I have the Denver Broncos ranked 1 this week, and I believe in that. So I'm kind of going with it, you guys. I have Demaryius ranked a lot higher than most people do too. I feel like last year was a down season with bad quarterbacks, and he still was a baller, you guys. So we may not have a quarterback at this point, but still, come on, it's fine. Emmanuel Sanders is there too. The value to me is good. 7th, 8th round. I think that's a great place for him. I don't think I'm iffy with how they're going to get the ball to him, but I think that's going to be fine. C.J. Anderson, guys, I'm all about C.J. Anderson. He's going to get so much love with these quarterbacks that it's going to be out of control. So I think C.J. Anderson, draft. Keep him up. Brandon McManus, the kicker you draft. Virgil Green, I just love Green. I think he's going to be a favorite target for any of the Bronco quarterbacks that show up week 1, and I just think that he is such a sleeper that it's fantastic. And yeah, I really like his potential in PPR. He sees a lot of targets, you guys. He's been seeing a lot of targets. Every single one of the 3 quarterbacks love to throw to the tight end, so I think you're golden. Devontae Booker is going to be your backup to C.J. Anderson. You're drafting him as your backup. He is a great backup to have. And as you don't draft, you guys, you're not drafting the quarterbacks. Simeon is starting in week 3. Woo!
It's gotten crazy.
I think that Kubiak might have had some butt fumble nightmares after those 2 fumbles last week.
Can't believe that happened.
Just like, I know, it's so bad. I mean, Simeon's not perfect, mind you, so you're not drafting any of them. Okay? San Diego Chargers, the Minnesota Vikings.
You're drafting Gates. He's a given. Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen actually had a joint practice with the Arizona Cardinals, and he faced off against Patrick Peterson, and he actually made some tough catches and did well. And this has been one of my biggest issues with Keenan Allen is I don't think he shows up against strong corners. It's been one of my issues with him. I am judgy, but you know what? It is what it is. The guy's got injury issues, and when he faces up against a stout corner, doesn't have his best games. So I'm really encouraged to see the fact that he did well against Patrick Peterson. So I'm happy with that. Travis Benjamin, you haven't seen a whole lot from him in preseason, which might make people nervous, but that's because he's considered part of the first team. And we see very limited from our first team anyway. So just because it's not a new team and you aren't seeing much, I don't want you to panic and freak out about Travis Benjamin. This is a good sign. This is a good sign that they know that he is their wide receiver too. And there's no reason for them to play him excessively in preseason. Why would they risk it? So I think this is a good sign. No reason to freak out at all. Now, Phillip Rivers did not play against the Cardinals, so that was interesting, but again, nothing to freak out about. Our sleepers, wide receiver Tyrell Williams. He's caught 4 passes for 47 yards, and he looks decent. He's targeted 6 times during the game. I think that's okay. He's my potential sleeper here. Because all Phillip Rivers does is throw. That's all they do is throw. Because, again, they've got no running game.
And they're going to be so behind.
So behind.
Points that they just need to air it out.
It brings us to Melvin Gordon. I'm not hating him as much as I did. If we look at last year's stats, he had 184 carries. And if you look at just the first 2 preseasons, he's had 9. He rushed for 641 yards last year, which is a 3.5 yard per average. And he's at 3.3 right now in 2 games. So he's about on par. 3.3 is not my favorite number, but he had 0 rushing touchdowns last year and 0 thus far this preseason. He had 33 catches last year. He's had 1 catch this year. But what's crazy?
The Chiefs can't get a touchdown in the air, and the San Diego Chargers can't get a touchdown on the ground.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
But what's interesting to me is that he had 192 receiving yards last year, and he already has 44 receiving yards this preseason and a receiving touchdown, which he did not have last season as a whole. So
I agree. I thought that was improvement.
I think it's improvement, and I think they're actually going to change their running game a bit, and he's going to be more involved in the pass game. Danny Woodhead will still be there, and there was a hilarious. What was the tweet about Danny Woodhead? About if he's alive, you basically don't draft.
Yeah, as long as Danny Woodhead's alive, you do not draft Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, it was something hilarious like that. And while I agree, at the same time, I do think they're figuring out, I think this is partly why they drafted their fullback. They're trying to get creative in a way to be able to use Melvin Gordon, and I think they might be using a little bit more receiving than they did in the past, if the numbers are telling us the truth here. So I'm intrigued with that. Tight end Jeff Cumberland, he tore his Achilles heel. He is out. So next man up, Seth McGrath. He is the guy. Allegedly.
Well,
Behind Antonio Gates. Correct.
I was like, what?
Not the guy. He's not the guy.
He's not even a guy. They have Antonio Gates. I'm done.
Right.
Stop.
You say.
What's wrong with you?
Talk about the Vikings, another useless team to talk about.
Yes.
We'd be done with these useless teams. Anyway, all right. Adrian Peterson, Norv Turner.
I was like, what?
That's the guy, Brennan. I shouldn't put such an emphasis on the.
Jeez, I got scared. I was like, what did I not hear?
Yeah, no. So Adrian Peterson, Norv Turner is raving that he sees absolutely no sign of him slowing down, which is what we've been telling you as well. Yes, he is over 30, but he's Adrian Peterson, and you have no reason to freak out about it. Laquan Treadwell, he's another guy that you're going to draft again. He's not going to see much out of him until probably midseason. So kind of expect that, but you're going to have to draft him. He's not somebody he's going off the boards. It's not someone that you can pick up off waivers. Although he may fall into the category that we've talked about many times with these guys that don't perform well, so somebody drops them and you're able to pick them up. That's probably what you should shoot for with Laquan Treadwell.
Agreed.
Teddy Bridgewater, he did not play in the game, which was really interesting because at the beginning when he didn't play, he's like, I'm fine. And then they blamed it on a sore shoulder, and now they're saying that's the issue. But then the Vikings decided they kept him out, but then he was throwing during practice. But then the coach says that he isn't even concerned about his injury. So it's a very kind of roundabout, I don't know what is going on here. I'm just going to ignore it and chalk this up to weird preseason stuff that happens all the time, and we're going to say Teddy Bridgewater's fine.
It's like the Seattle Seahawks. It's like the Seattle Seahawks. Jimmy Graham doesn't have to come because they don't use him. Teddy Bridgewater doesn't have to come because they don't use their quarterback. So it's totally fine.
It's probably
true.
Don't
need him. Yeah.
It's a Jimmy Graham. He played 4 practices. Take a break.
Take a break.
I am intrigued by Adam Thielen. He caught 4 passes for 61 yards in the game against the Seahawks. He actually looks pretty decent. So it's been really interesting as to what's going on with him. I think he could be a sleeper wide receiver. On a team of wide receivers, I generally tell you never to draft. So he's on the second tier of my don't draft Viking wide receivers.
Nice.
Which basically means you don't draft him, but you look for him when he has a good game. because you may be able to pick him up, or in daily. He's a guy that might be able to blow up daily, and you basically are paying $1 for the guy.
Good.
Riveting.
Arizona Cardinals, the Houston Texans.
I have all bad teams, Brian. I'm trying to find something. I'm talking about people like Adam Thielen. Come on now.
You did a great job with that. Arizona Cardinals are pretty clear. They've had a bad preseason. They don't look good. Let's just put it out there. They don't look good. I don't care. Do you guys care?
No.
There's not one thing I care about. I'm drafting Michael Floyd. I'm drafting Larry Fitzgerald. I'm drafting John Brown. I'm drafting David Johnson. I'm drafting Carson Palmer. I don't think they have a tight end. If so, call me. Other than that, I love their defense. I think their defense may be, in my opinion, the top defense of the year this year. I think it's a very distinct possibility based on the fact that they are going to face the crazy Los Angeles Rams. Where does the sun rise? We don't know. They're going twice. They're going to face Chip Kelly twice. Now they faced the Seattle Seahawks twice. That's tough. But, I think their schedule is actually pretty decent, and they're a really good team. So
The Rams' defense is good.
Yeah. So I feel fine about that. So in other words, you know who you're drafting, you know who you're not. Chris Johnson's a handcuff. I do not believe the hype that he's going to take touches, though.
Okay.
I think he will.
Not enough for me to not draft
Not
David
enough
Johnson.
to not draft David Johnson, but I think he will be involved.
David Johnson's my number one running back in PPR leagues.
There it is.
Mm.
There it is. Ashley. Texans.
More teams no one cares about. DeAndre Hopkins, that's a given, obviously. Lamar Miller, I haven't been as impressed as I want to be with him. He's rushed 6 times for 16 yards and 1 catch against the Saints. Against the Saints. You should be able to do better than that against the Saints.
It's preseason.
Every time we said that, though, people stunk against the Saints. That's all I'm
I know,
saying.
but man.
I know.
I still have him ranked pretty high. He did still fall as a top 10 running back last season. I do think he's still good, but I'm not quite as hyped up. I want to wait and see how he's going to do in the dress rehearsals, see how that plays out. Jalen Strawn is still another contender. He is listed as a wide receiver 2 next to DeAndre Hopkins in the depth chart. But Braxton Miller has been interesting. He has been in the starting slot position the past 2 season games. He's supposed to get play. He was a converted quarterback to a wide receiver. So I like that conversion, like Brandon's boy. Did you choose to say his name? There you go. I'm intrigued with him, but I'm also intrigued with Will Fuller, who had 4 balls for 73 yards and a touchdown on 8 targets. He was targeted 8 times. So I really like Will Fuller too. So this is an interesting receiving core. The question is, can Brock pull it together to be able to deliver it? He was 12 for 19 passes for 124 yards and a touchdown. I think he's starting to pull it together. So I'm hopeful for that because I think there's a lot of potential for wide receivers on this team. I do. Now, what does have me concerned is their center, Nick Martin, has a high ankle sprain and potentially might have surgery. It might be worse than they thought, and they might be out their center. And there is nothing more important to not a rookie, he's not a rookie, but he's a newbie quarterback of Brock Osweiler to lose your center. This also affects my feelings with Lamar Miller because the center is out. This is bad. This is bad.
Dead.
He just hopped on the Titanic with RG3.
So, again, we don't know if he's going to have surgery. We have to keep an eye on this, but there is definitely a possibility of surgery, and that will be some devastating news for our Texans.
It's officially loopy time.
Yep.
It's our last matchup, and we've all lost our minds.
Cincinnati Bengals and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
So we got the Bengals, who I love. AJ Green, I love him. Giovanni Bernard, you're still drafting him. Jeremy Hill, you're drafting him. And he and I have had a very tumultuous relationship over the years, Jeremy Hill and I. But what I love is that he is quoted saying that he's not going to celebrate this year. Nope. He's not going to do it. He's going to let his running back coach celebrate for him. He is focusing, and he's been looking pretty decent. So I'm hoping this is going to bring us 2014 numbers versus 2015 numbers. But even 2015 wasn't that bad, guys. So he is still a guy that you draft. The value is certainly there for where you can draft him. So I'm liking the running backs for the Bengals. Our sleepers, Tyler Boyd, guys, he is the man. Brandon LaFell is expected to play week 1, which has made this a little bit of an interesting situation. But Tyler Boyd, he's just doing a great job. And everyone has got great things to say about him.
Rookie of the year.
Everyone's got great things to say about him. So he's another guy that you can get crazy low, and you should be targeting a guy like Tyler Boyd. Now, Tyler Eifert, we got an update here. He is going to try to jog. He jogged, guys. He's been currently riding on treadmills and water, but he's able to jog on pavement, and this is good. His ankle feels good. So we just got to keep our eyes open to how that's going to play out, because Eifert was a huge, as you know, touchdown vulture. The guy was targeted in the red zone more than any other tight end last year. Is insane. He's the guy. We just need him healthy.
Jacksonville Jaguars, Allen Robinson, Allen Hurns, and Blake Bortles, they're all being underestimated for their pure talent. So the value is just fantastic. So you can take all 3 of them and feel okay about it. Have no remorse. It's a really nice thing to have going on here. The Jacksonville defense is going to be in my sleepers category. They should be a must start or a must draft, mind you. And I think they're going to fall in the top 12 defenses this year. So I think you're good to take them. I feel good about it.
All right.
Especially if you have a defense like the Carolina Panthers or the Houston Texans. You know, Houston has dealt with injuries. I love the Houstons. They have a great schedule. But if you have them and Jacksonville is not taken, that is somebody that you need to be streaming with constantly. So just think about that. And I'm still on the fence with Julius. I don't know. I feel bad, but I just can't give advice with Julius.
You have a mental block with Julius?
I have a mental block with Julius. Some days I really like him, and then some days I'm like, gross. Can't stay away. So it's really up in the air. And as for the running backs, I'm not a fan, you guys. I'm kind of staying away from them as well. The Ivory, TJ Yeldon situations, not my favorite thing going into the season. So the value's there, so if you draft him, I get it. But it's just, I don't know. There's too many unknowns for me. Whatever happened to Denard?
Oh, Robinson.
Remember that guy?
Oh, yeah.
Injuries.
Miss him.
Too small. He was really slight.
Yeah. So sweet. Miss that guy. Miss him.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that is our show, you guys. The dress rehearsal, week 3 of preseason. Oh, I'm so excited for the drafts to all be done so we can just start, crying about our teams or, being oh, my gosh. So excited for that 15th round guy.
Butt. Check out that draft sheet, you guys. It's so good. The cheat sheet
Her
is so
fantasy football / cheat sheet. herfantasyfootball.com/cheat sheet if we're going to get technical.
Right, but you know the internet, so it's fine.
Easy as that. Print it off. Bring it to your drafts. Thank you so much, Kendra, for your fabulous video of the boys stealing your draft sheet because you kicked their butt last year with it. So amazing. I just used it for my last draft. It's super easy. So go over there, print it off, bring it to your drafts. Also, you can chat with us on Twitter at HerFantasyFB and on Facebook /HerFantasyFootball. And make sure to listen to us. Saturday night, you guys, you get a second opportunity to listen to our madness on Fantasy Sports Network from 9 to 11 Eastern Saturday night. So we'll see you guys there. Until next time, no more faking it.